Hello everyone, this is ITL on the ITL channel. Today we're going to do the first book review on the channel. But since it's the first one, it's all kind of subject to change at this moment, considering that we haven't quite finalized how it's going to go or if the flow will be all that well in this review. But next, going on to the book review, we are going to be doing the book Warlord Fury of the God-Machine. And this is written by David Annandale. Yes, I probably said that wrong. Please tell me in the comments. But, so basically, we're going to go in a format of overview first, then some other comments and whatnot I have about the book. So, the book itself, the overview, is that 2 Titan legions are sent to a Forge world to crush a chaos-fueled rebellion. And the problem being is that these 2 Titan legions do not see eye to eye, and therefore they'll have to resolve their differences if they are going to face and destroy this chaos-fueled rebellion. The thing is that book, like the premise of it, is interesting, but it fails on a few concepts that I think are pivotal, but not truly like disastrous to the story. This being is a story is that the main characters, the Titan legions themselves, are not really the forefront of what makes this story interesting, which is weird since that is what is built on with the book. Yes, you follow them mainly, they are the main people you follow throughout this book. The problem being is that they're not really the most interesting stories throughout this book. And that in itself is the main problem of the book. The book, though, is really well done. And it does make a lot of sense in terms of like, it is a good book to read. Yes. So that is my problem with the story. I will discuss it kind of further in the later bits, mainly the spoiler section towards the end. Okay, so the next one is readability. I think the readability of this book is good if you've read Warhammer 40k before, predominantly if you've read more of the books about the Mechanicus, the Adeptus Mechanicus. And then you'll kind of understand some of their more unique words. But if you haven't, and this is kind of your first introduction to what the Mechanicus does in Warhammer 40k, at least with the way it's written, you will have some difficulties reading it, but it shouldn't pose too much of a problem, because that's kind of not necessarily all throughout the book. So there's that. Then the next one would be, let's see, what did I have written down? Oh yeah, the enjoyment. The enjoyment of the book is very interesting. I would say it's not the best of book to like read through in terms of, like, it doesn't grip you, at least it didn't grip me, it might do you. It didn't grip me all that much, at least not with the main characters. With the side characters, it did. I was very intrigued by how their story would go through. The other hand, the main characters, not so much. Then as with the comment section, which is what I have for the next one, is that the book itself is very, like the book feel is very standard. What I mean standard is it feels more durable than most books you would find in a bookstore, especially the front cover. But I have dealt with books that have a bit more of a cover that I like a bit better. It's a bit thicker. It's a bit more durable. In the case of this, I read it over a course of a few days, and it's already received some like markings from turning the book pages. So that's, again, not that great in terms of quality. But overall, I think it's decent. The book price is about $16 US. I would think that if I was to pay $16 US, I would prefer it to be a tad bit more quality in the way that it feels. So that's what I have to say for that. Overall, I think the book is a decent book, but I'm still a little not happy with the price tag. Like, if this book was like $11 or $12, it'd be a really good book. But since it's $16 and I don't really see it getting that cheaper, just from the way I know books of this nature go, I would think it probably would be a book that, well, if you haven't read all the books that you've already wanted to read and you're kind of like looking around in the bookstore as to like What other ones should I get? I would think that this would be a good book after you've read the ones that interest you the most. Like, this is a good, like, second-hand choice. I wouldn't call it a good first-hand choice, though. This has been ITL, and thank you for watching. For the spoilers, which I will get into now, they are very much so that the two Titan legions in this book, the thing that I disliked about it the most is that the two Titan legions that you're supposed to be rooting for, and that the story, of at least the overview, sets up that they're supposed to work together to fight against the Chaos, specifically Chaos worshippers of Khorne. But, of course, the problem being is that it makes it sound like that they're going to resolve their differences at the end of the book to work together in the fight, and that's not really the case. They never really resolve their differences, and like at least not until the end of the book, and that's mainly due to the fact that one of the Titan Legion's leaders, his machine gets destroyed along with, well, most of the Legion. So really, it's not really, they resolve their differences as more of the end of the book being mainly, they're like, well, we've lost the guy who mainly just didn't like you, so therefore we have no real problem with you anymore. And that in itself doesn't really speak to what the book was telling you at the beginning, and I think that's a bit of a problem. There's that. The second part is that, like I said, the two Titan Legion stories aren't really all that interesting. At least it wasn't to me. I preferred the parts where you're going with the Ecclesiarch and his story about rallying the people together to fight the Chaos. There's that, which is very interesting. It's very gripping. It's a very interesting way to go about a story that predominantly revolves around giant robots, specifically. There is also the other story about a Imperial Guard tank regiment commander who is helping with these Titan Legions. He's around most of the Titan Legion, specifically the main character's Titan Legion. And that is also an interesting story, especially with the way how it resolves and ends and his internal conflict with such going on.